Okay, so let's talk about something we've all been through. You're dealing with someone who gives you this massive, detailed backstory for the simplest things. It's easy to just write them off as, anxious or maybe a little boring, but there's actually some really deep psychology going on. So let's try to look past the frustration for a minute and dig into the real reasons why people over-explain.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You ask for the time and you get the entire history of the watch. It can be super frustrating, I get it. But what if I told you it's almost never about trying to annoy you? It's about something way, way deeper happening inside their head.
Yeah, pretty much all the common assumptions. They're usually wrong. We're going to break down the 4 totally distinct psychological profiles of people who overexplain. And by the end of this, you won't just understand them better, you might actually see a bit of yourself in one of them. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around for the last one. It's a real curveball.
All right, first up, let's meet type 1, the anxious protector. For this person, every conversation feels like a high-stakes game. Their number one goal is to play defense, to block any and all potential misunderstandings before they can even start.
This is literally what's running through their head, like on a loop. The very thought of their words getting twisted or misinterpreted can kick off a real stress response. We're talking heart-racing, palm-sweating stress. So what do? They try to control the narrative by giving you every single detail.
And get this, there's actual science to back this up. Some people have what's called a highly sensitive nervous system. They aren't just overthinking it, their brains are literally wired differently, absorbing way more social data, like tiny little shifts in your facial expression or the energy in the room. This means their mind is constantly running simulations of every possible way the conversation could go wrong.
So, at the end of the day, their over-explaining isn't a lecture, it's a shield. They're trying to preemptively fill in every single conversational gap so there's no room for you to jump to the wrong conclusion. It's a total defense mechanism, and it's born from this really deep need to protect themselves from chaos.
Now, let's move on to our next type, because this one kind of builds on that idea of fear. While the anxious protector is all about the future, what could happen, our second type is completely shaped by the past, by what has already gone wrong.
And that brings us to the armored survivor. These are people who have already been through it. They've learned from really painful experiences that being misunderstood isn't just, awkward, it can actually be dangerous.
For this person, it's not a hypothetical. Past experiences have taught them that when people get the wrong idea, it can lead to terrible consequences. We're talking toxic arguments, getting blamed for things they didn't do, or even real-world penalties. So their over-explaining isn't just speculation, it's a strategy based on hard data from their own life.
Psychologists actually have a name for this kind of response. It's called learned helplessness. Basically, if you've been hurt or let down again and again in the past, your brain can get trained to just stop expecting anything good to happen. So over-explaining becomes this form of what's called quiet armor.
So their core motive is incredibly simple. It's safety. They're not trying to win an argument or sound smart. They're just trying to prove they're telling the truth so they don't get blamed or hurt all over again. They know what real chaos feels like, and you better believe they're going to do anything to keep that from ever coming back into their lives.
Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. Not all over-explaining comes from a place of defense. Let's switch gears to a much more positive intent. Our third type isn't driven by fear or trauma at all. They over-explain because they see conversation as this amazing opportunity for a real, genuine connection. The deep connector is just frustrated by superficiality. To them, a short, simple answer feels like such a missed opportunity. They really believe that words have the power to connect us, to help us learn, to teach, and they want to share that whole experience with you.
This kind of internal conflict even has a name: value dissonance. Think about it. Our society often rewards super quick, bite-sized communication. But for the deep connector, that just feels empty. Their brain is actually wired to find pleasure and meaning in all the details, the nuances, the full story.
So remember this, because it's key. When a deep connector gives you a long, detailed explanation, it's actually a huge compliment. It means they see you as someone who's capable of appreciating the depth of a topic that has really touched their brain or their soul. They're not lecturing you, they're inviting you to come swim in the deep end of the pool with them.
And that brings us to our final type, the one I promised would be the most unexpected. See, this person doesn't over-explain for you at all. They do it for themselves. Meet the emotionally independent.
This is someone who has truly moved beyond needing other people to validate them. Their communication isn't about managing your reaction, it's about honoring their own truth.
Their whole mindset is about what you might call radical psychological honesty. They truly believe they owe it to themselves to state things completely and accurately, just as they see them. Whether you agree or disagree, well, that's secondary.
This links directly to a really cool concept in psychology called self-determination theory. The whole idea is that real emotional maturity comes when you start getting your sense of worth from inside yourself, from your own autonomy and competence. This type of person has stopped tying their self-worth to what everybody else thinks about them.
So at its core, their motive is self-honesty. They give you the full explanation because their words are a direct reflection of their own values and their own self-knowledge. They're just living by their principles, and if you happen to not like their long, detailed answer, well, honestly, they just don't care.
So after looking at all 4 of these profiles, I think it's time we turn the mirror on ourselves. Because every single time we explain something, we're being driven by one of these core motives, whether we even realize it or not.
So let's do a quick recap. We have the anxious protector, driven by the need for protection. The armored survivor, driven by the need for safety. The deep connector, who's seeking connection. And the emotionally independent, who's motivated by self-honesty. Each one tells a really powerful story.
Think about it for a second. Which one of those made you kind of go, oof, yeah, that's me? Maybe it's a mix of a couple of them, depending on the situation. Go ahead and let us know which type you identify with most in the comments. I am genuinely curious to see which one is most common.
And I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you feel yourself getting impatient with someone who's over-explaining, just pause for a second and consider their motive. Knowing the why behind their words, it doesn't just give you insight, it gives you a choice. A choice to listen with a little more empathy, a little more understanding, and maybe even a little more patience. So how will you choose to listen now?